What's going on, guys? I'm Logan. This is It's Call Time, the podcast where stagehands and tech talk about their chaotic, sleep-deprived stories from behind the scenes. I have my good buddy Tim here today with me, and he's going to be giving you a little insight on his part of our industry, the world, touring, house, and all that stuff. Tim, give us a little intro on yourself, my man.
I'm Tim. A lot of people know me as Princess as my road nickname in the business. I'm a monitor engineer. I'm a stage manager. I've been a front of house guy before. I've done a little bit of everything, but primarily my focus is audio and stage management. And my primary gigs tend to be either touring with bands or working music festivals on cruise ships, which is kind of like a seasonal gig. But yeah, just audio and stage management across the board.
Fuck yeah. I was going to say, I know Bear reached out to me about those cruises, and I was going to try and get out on some, but never was able to line it up properly.
It's a community, and it's tight. I have no idea how I managed to fall into it, but every time people are like, hey, can I? And I'm like, if you're an audio dude, I can probably hook you up with something. Yeah. But in terms of their stage management team, it's like
locked.
It's tight. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
We'll squeeze you in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know you've done many different things throughout, your career. Who are you in the industry today, like your most recent run out on a tour, and tell us a little about that.
My most recent tour that I just came back from a couple of weeks ago was Dispatch, band Dispatch.
Hell yeah.
I was out with them as pulling double duty as their monitor engineer and stage manager, which is something I'm not unfamiliar with. A lot of the tours that I've been on, I've kind of had to wear multiple hats, which is not uncommon. Not a lot of bands have a lot of money, so you end up pulling a handful of responsibilities when you get on tour with a band. With Dispatch, it was a whole different ball game because it's the biggest tour I've ever stage managed in terms of production size. So trying to stage manage that and do monitors for, let's say, a very involved audio need. I don't want to say demanding because the band isn't demanding, but the show itself has a lot of nuanced requirements.
You have to be on your toes constantly, making sure that, like, as songs are changing, it's not just like a set it and forget it kind of show.
Yes, which is kind of how I've been used to doing monitors. So who I am now, I would say, is a monitor engineer and stage manager for Dispatch.
Hell yeah. What made you get involved in the industry / how did you get involved? Because everyone has different stories and different walks of life.
Yeah, my start was, I think, similar to a lot of other audio engineers. I was like when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to be involved in music in a professional way somehow. So at 17, I was in my first band in high school. We put some shows together, we played some gigs, and I was just kind of hooked on the performance aspect, but also just like the show aspect in general. And then started to kind of think like, okay, how can I don't think I'm necessarily cut out to do the grind of like being a musician full time. But like, how do I earn a living being at least around the stuff that I love doing? And when I was looking at colleges, saw a few of these places that had audio engineering programs and ended up going to a school by the name of University of New Haven that had the most interesting program that, to me at the time, because they had a Bachelor of Science program in music and sound recording.
So that included very interesting, did not expect it to be a Bachelor in Science.
Yeah. So they actually have two separate degrees. They do have a Bachelor of Arts in music and sound recording, and they also have a Bachelor of Science. And the Bachelor of Science program incorporates quite a bit of physics and electrical engineering, and you know, higher level mathematics. I think it gets you up to like calculus or some shit, whatever you need for physics. I don't remember any of this shit. It doesn't really matter.
When was the last time we used equations like that?
Yeah. But so you're doing all of that alongside a lot of like music theory, music analysis, and like, recording, and, like studio courses, and learning about MIDI, and learning about signal flow, and learning about all these things that you need to work in a recording studio, as well as the music, as well as science. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting program. Looking back on it, by about my senior year of that program, I looked around and was like, I don't know that I needed this level of education for what I ultimately now want to do.
Yeah.
But it was still like all of the exposure was just kind of necessary, I think, to get me involved and like, I don't know, figure out what was available to do to a young, dumb musician.
It literally gets your foot into a spot where you're just like, yeah, this thing, I go there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like,
Yeah.
we met at the Klein fucking, Jesus, that had to, that's so long ago. Holy crap. That had to have been
2015.
Yeah, because I remember you weren't there the first like year or so that I was at the Klein, but then yeah, right before College Street opened up, you were there.
Yeah, that was I moved back. I moved back to New Haven. I want to say February, something like that, of 2015, and my first gig at College Street was like late July of 2015, and within that early time, I was to some. Oh, maybe it was earlier. Maybe it was 2014 that I moved back. I don't know. Either way,
it's been a wild ride. It's like,
yeah,
when we talk about how long someone's been in it, clearly it's like 2015. That's 10 years ago. And you said you were getting involved in stuff because of bands when you were 17. Now, when it's not just like the length of time, it's everything we've learned. As you said, when you were, by the time you were at your senior year of school, you were kind of looking around like, shit, do I really need this? And I'm not going to say, one's better than the other, because, I've talked about this with Blake in the last episode. School versus trial by fire. Pros and cons of each, kind of like a controlled environment versus an uncontrolled environment. What do you think benefits people who want to get involved in this better?
I will say, as much as I don't think I needed school to do what I'm doing now, it definitely has been massively beneficial. For one, I think one of the big benefits is just like, here are basic fundamentals, like signal flow, like, just like the like audio being like a water through pipes kind of analogy, like that simple basic foundation. And hearing that and having that be taught and explained from multiple different people in multiple different ways, multiple different professors, was huge. Also learning the physics and electrical engineering and all of those things, even though I may not have like retained a lot of that stuff, that still gave me some bit of foundation as to, okay, here's how resistors work, here's how capacitors work, here's a deeper explanation of how the circuitry within these microphones works, which just kind of also provides like a stronger starting point. On top of that, the program that I was in, like having some classes around like musicianship, around music analysis, I think these are all things that coalesce into being a better audio engineer, because if you have a little bit more understanding what your musicians are doing, what it feels like to perform or to write music or to whatever, like expose yourself in such a vulnerable way, then you kind of have another better foot to stand on when you're trying to provide the service of doing whatever type of audio for that artist.
It's like you'll know what they're looking for, what sound they're more going for, and it's like you'll have a better understanding of stuff like that.
So I think for one of the benefits of getting like a formal education on it is the number of sources that you can draw from, i.e., multiple different professors who have experience in the business. Yep. Multiple different ways of things being explained to you, ways of like being taught to you, multiple different experiences to draw upon to learn some stuff. On top of that, you're in an environment with a whole bunch of like-minded individuals who are all trying to do the same shit. So you're going to make friends because you already have some foundationally common interests, which I still am best friends with a ton of the people, Greg included.
Yeah, baby. Fucking love that man.
The sweet boy.
Best.
But like, a ton of my friends from school I'm still very close with, and we're not in like the same aside from Greg and I, like the core group of my friends from college are not necessarily all in the same like vein of audio engineering, but we're all kind of like doing it in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's a ton of fun. So like having those connections, whether they end up being professional or just like your homies who have those common interests, is like also an invaluable experience of going to a formal education. That basic foundational thing is something that you would probably not get in a trial by fire situation.
Yeah,
you might, depending on who your mentor is, because that's effectively the other option, right? Is like the trial by fire is like you go harass a venue and just be like, hey, can I, hey. And so they're like, all right, kid, fucking come on.
Okay,
like,
just go over there, coil the cable, and shut up.
Over under this until you
can do it in your sleep. Yeah, that's definitely a very different thing. It's like Toads was very lucky that as an environment for us, because we had people that wanted to go the extra mile, and we had that camaraderie thing because of everyone didn't just treat it like a generic job. So yeah, right. that I could totally understand that. Like everyone's there for the same thing. Everyone has the same mentality of, hey, I want to learn this. I want to get good at it and do it as a profession. So I could definitely see that environment kind of adding on to the drive. It's like that you see everyone around you learning and succeeding, and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, dude, let's do it.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And it's like, I think I feel very lucky to have the sort of combination of both education plus being thrown in. And I'll say like the first gig I ever got paid for was working at Stella Blues downtown New Haven. And I was working sometimes 2 nights a week doing sound for, like shitty Grateful Dead cover bands mostly.
Yeah.
But, every so often there's like some really cool musicians and some really cool bands. But, working for $50 a night and 3 free beers, like that was my take home. But that was also a ton of experience of just like, all right, I'm one guy. I'm going to make this show happen right now. Mm-hmm. So like you're also kind of in that environment. If there's 2 bands playing that night, you're kind of also stage manager, where you're like, all right, guys, you got to get the hell off the stage. We got to put the next band on.
It's like, hey, you're 5 minutes over.
Yeah. After that gig, which was like a perfect sort of like in tandem, I was doing that while I was in school. So like applying these little principles of signal flow and whatever, and learning how to mix and farting terrible mixes through the PA at Stella Blues. My first, what I would call like, I guess, real professional gig was working at a dinner theater after college, down in Atlantic City. And in that gig, it was the house crew was effectively just me and our technical director slash lighting guy slash he was basically everything except audio.
I was gonna say
And he
everything
was
else but
like,
you.
yeah, Reggie Ballard, fantastic human being, love that man to death. He was just super experienced, and I'm this whatever 21-year-old kid figuring it out. So he taught me a lot about everything else that wasn't audio, and I filled him in here and there on some audio stuff. He also just had no interest and didn't want to, didn't care about audio. But I learned more in my first 6 months at that gig than I did in 4 years of college, for sure. I think college was a very expensive incubator. Thank you, mom and dad. But I definitely got more education out of the actual work experience. Now, would I have gotten as much out of that 6 months if I hadn't already had the foundation from school? Probably not. Yeah, it's totally a crapshoot. Like I think there are benefits to both. Unfortunately, the way our education system works, it's expensive as fuck to go and get a formal education in these kinds of things. And yeah, I mean, if you have the means to get that education, I think it is worth it in some way, shape, or form. But was it worth the amount of money? I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, it gave you that base pool of knowledge that if you didn't have that, you probably wouldn't have been able to maximize on the other opportunities you had. But at the same time, it's like, maybe not. You can't really say because it's like the way it happened. But I do think that the school, as you said, does have a great benefit to it because it adds a lot of stuff that like I don't know, transistors and signal flow and stuff like that. And that's why it's like, as a stage manager, I try and ask you guys, what can I do to help explain things to me? Because again, it's the more you know, the more you can do and the more you can help.
Yeah.
And it's like knowledge is power.
100%.
The school, again, as you said, is costly. It's got that money in front of it, but sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's not. It's like depending on what program you have, what you go for. When you started getting into this world and everything like that, did you think that you were going to stick strictly with audio, or did you think that you were going to like venture out to do, like how you've done production managing, stage managing, and all of these other things?
No, I did. I thought I was going to stick to audio. I thought I was going to be, when I first ventured out on this thing, I thought I was going to be, I guess I had the vision of being like a white glove front of house guy. Like I just get to walk up and like mix a huge band, be like, that sounded dope, and then get paid a bunch of money and then walk away. That is not what happened. But whilst at College Street, after probably a year or so of working there, our good buddy Josh Crowther and Natalie both kind of had conversations with me about like, hey, you like know what you're doing. We think you could, like step up into a bit more of a leadership role. What do you think about that? I was like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
None of that comes naturally to me. That's just not me. I've never been the guy that's in charge, and I've never like had a desire to be the guy that's in charge. But this was at a time when Josh was planning to leave the venue. He was there for the first year to get us all like set up and put a lot of the systems in place that are still used there today.
Very much so.
Built the workbench that's down there,
Josh's red pipe in the bathroom.
Yeah. That in that transitional period when Josh was leaving and Natalie was going to take over the production management side of things, Josh was kind of like, hey, here's how you can like, lead people. Here's all the things that you can think about. Here's like the mental checklist that should be going through, and like the what's next mentality, he kind of calls it, of just like be 2 to 3 steps ahead of the day, ahead of the schedule, and like what's going on.
Yep.
And that was things that just like my brain didn't fire on those cylinders before that. And then he left, and then I was just like, all right, I'm gonna fucking figure this out. And it turned out that was something I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
Especially with the team that we had at College Street, which was just like, okay, these are all my friends. Like, these are all known quantities. Like, I know what they're capable of. I know what they're good at. I know what they're not good at. And I know how to, I think, delegate, which was a whole learning curve in and of itself. Was just how to be like, hey, this is the thing that I need you to do, rather than just like going and doing it myself, which is wildly inefficient, you know? But yeah, learning those leadership skills was like, I think one of the most crucial parts of my career, honestly. Like College Street, I call that my alma mater, because like that, I think, is where I truly like cut my teeth to be able to do what I'm doing now. Yeah, man. It was like, I learned so many skills there outside of audio, like stage management, production management, how to have a functional inbox, you know, just like all of these things.
Basic life management, calendar management, everything.
Yeah, all of that, you know, which was something I was just like, I'm never gonna need that shit. I want to mix, you know,
Yeah.
like I want to make the boom boom sounds and make them sound good. And at this point, like I still do enjoy that. I enjoy audio very, very much, and I enjoy the technical aspects of it, but I enjoy stage management potentially even more than that, you know, just like the bigger picture of an entire show day, and making sure that all departments play nice, and making sure the schedule is moving on time, and, you know, what time are doors, you know, like let's make sure we get them open.
Yep.
That has been such a fun thing, and just like a challenge, and like a thing that I feel like has made me grow as a human being. I think ending up in stage management is ultimately where I feel like I see the career trajectory going.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, not to say I'm not going to do audio anymore or anything like that. I'm going to do it until my ears don't work. You know?
That's how I feel about lighting, man. It's like, it's a passion and a joy, but there's something about like stage management, like crew chiefing. It's just that like, fucking, dude, it's just indescribable. And, you know, you're the one that saw that in me. You know, I originally just wanted to stick with lighting, and I will never forget, you sat me down on the steps to the apartment that led up right, you know, above College Street. And you're like, hey, man. Yep, on the loading dock. And you're like, hey, I know you like lighting, and that's really what you want to stick with. But, like, you know, I think you would be really good at this, and you would have fun with it. And I, you know, in my first episode, I was telling people, if someone believes in you and thinks that something is like, you would be good at that, if they're truly someone that cares about you, they're not going to suggest something for you to do something that they think that you would fail at.
For sure. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And it's like, I feel people experiencing the passion of not just what they do, but like different departments and everything, it is such an important thing in our industry, because it's very much like house life versus tour life. You know, I haven't really gotten the chance to go out on a tour. I did a 10-day run with a local band where I was driver, tech, merch, fucking everything. And it was, you know, one of those van tours where you're wearing a million things. When you have like tour life versus, you know, home life, how do you, over the years, learned to kind of balance it? You know, I know you'll do tours and then you'll come back, you'll have some gigs lined up already, or you'll just, you know, big chill until you go back out onto the next thing. Tour versus home, like the differences, the chaos of everything.
Yeah. I think I can answer that in a couple different ways. One is like being house guy versus being tour guy, especially from like a stage management perspective.
Yeah.
one of the things when I started touring, when I left College Street, I had like, these kind of newfound skills of like crew chiefing and learning how to like run a team and all this stuff. But I learned how to run like our team, like our people, like I said, known quantities, their strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
Their personality types, all of those things. And that's like a very comfortable and like you can be a very effective leader when you know all of the people really well.
Mm-hmm.
Then on tour, we have our touring crew, which is like a whole different thing because you're not necessarily leading them because like everybody knows their gig and knows what they have to do. They don't need to be like micromanaged or like chiefed in that way. It's just like, all right, let's come up with a plan together and let's execute that plan. But then in terms of stagehands, you've got a whole new batch of local people that you've never met before that you are suddenly the crew chief of. So there's a whole plethora of challenges in that. And like a new skill set that started to develop was like how to suss somebody out really quick. Like
Who's useful and who's not.
yeah, exactly. And you can usually see pretty quickly by like how they greet you in the morning, whether they're like there and present and like have something behind the eyes, or if they're just literally
Just a sack
neck
flush.
down. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I've never done this before or whatever, and you can pick that up through the way they speak about the gig or their like body language and how they carry themselves or how they push a case around or like all these things that can give you sort of the necessary quick snap judgments of like, can I trust this person or not to do this task that I need them to do? Or do I need to find somebody else? And sometimes it's as simple as like, hey guys, show of hands, who has experience in this? Like, or who wants to be on audio today?
Who knows what this is?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what an XLR is?
Do you know how to plug and run cable?
Yeah. So that I think is one of like the biggest like differences and like whatever. It's just one of the biggest differences between like home house gig versus the touring gigs from the stage management perspective. I guess the other one from the monitor engineer perspective is like, as the house guy, hell, you might not even be actually touching a console that day. You might just be like, hey, plugged in your power, can I run your cables for you? All right, like, you got this? All right, see,
It's basically like, hey, stage tech for you, and I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's just kind of like you're on standby if they need help or if anything goes catastrophically wrong. But then, and the other portion of that is like if bands come in without their own engineers, all right, you might be doing monitors for a couple openers every once in a while, even the headliner or whatever. So like you're doing monitors for like a whole bunch of bands that you've potentially never worked with before or like never seen before, or you don't know their music or what their show is like or anything like that. So it's kind of just like, all right, grip it and rip it. Let's do the thing and give you guys a functional experience so that you can play, Whereas on tour, especially if you're traveling with your own consoles or whatever, you have the ability to like really dial it in for this same band that you're doing monitors for every day. And you're working from a file that you can build on from the previous day. And the show, then the songs, then the people and what they like. And you can really hone in on the experience and like serving up a product, even more like a more refined product to your client. That's such a weird word. These are all
I know what you mean though. It's like in our world we have to consider them our clients or bosses, even though it's like you and Bear, Alan, wonderful human being. Everyone on that end is just some of the greatest people, but they are still in a sense your client and you have to provide them what you are being hired for.
Yeah, I think this is just like, I guess, a little bit of a tangent, but one of the things that I have realized in doing this stuff is, yes, they are the client, but like I really only at this point want to work for bands where it doesn't feel like they are the client.
Yes, I know that.
I love what I do and I love doing it to the best of my ability, but and this is a service industry, but I never necessarily want to feel like I'm just providing a service. I want to feel like I am supporting my homies on stage to deliver the best possible show that they can, so that all the, bozos out front that are in and partying and having a good time can have the best time, and that, that exchange of energy between band and audience is like facilitated as best as possible. So like I effectively really only want to work gigs where like I like the people that are on stage.
I know exactly that feel, because it's like you want to be in a camp where you want to provide to the best of your ability. In like you have really showed us that at College Street. You showed me and a lot of the guys how to curate this experience where it's like, I was talking to Thor about it the other day. We had the Descendants, and it is one of his favorite bands. And he was like, man, I love this. I wish every show felt like this. And I went, the thing is, it does, not for us, but for people out in that crowd. Because guess what? The 2 hours, the 5 hours, the 9 hours we had to set up all that shit, their 3-hour experience of escaping life has been provided. And if we do our job and the tour does their job, that shit looks so freaking awesome. And that is like, it's 100%. You want to provide, what you would for anybody, but you also don't want to feel like it's unappreciative and all of that. Like, you want to be feeling like you're a part of it, like you said. And, it's such a thing that I feel like people get missed on. And it's really the thing that with this show that I want to show people, that there is so much passion behind what we do. And it is such a literally behind the curtains in the dark kind of thing. But there are so many jobs that go along in our industry: audio engineers, lighting guys, techs, runners, hospitality, everything. There are from front to back. If the entire team, the building, everyone is working together, it creates an environment that when tours come through, they'll know. Oh, they'll know immediately.
100%, dude. And that's another thing. Like, as now having done both, like, there's so many times where I'll walk into a building and be like greeted by the first person that I see and immediately have a vibe of, okay, this is going to be like a really solid day. This place like knows what's up and they're here to take care of us. Or this is like, today might be a bit of a struggle.
Yep.
And honestly, College Street is still kind of my like benchmark and my comparison to all of that, even though I've never come through College Street on a tour at this point. But like,
maybe one day.
I know. Yeah, one day. Like, I know what we like cultivated and sustained there, and that whole mentality. And like, there are some venues around the country that have that same thing. It's like, the first person that greets you like has answers to a bunch of questions, and it's like, oh, are you the production manager? And they're like, oh no, I'm like the janitor.
Yeah.
Or like I'm just like, or like I'm the house monitor guy.
Yeah,
like,
I'm Joe Bob, just the hand.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever, but they're still like there, and you can tell if that's the person that's like already answering your questions and engaging with you like that, then like that is a top down organizational effect, because like that doesn't typically happen if it's just like, one stagehand that's like, oh, really good, and
everybody else is just there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, that's typically a culture that kind of permeates the whole building. But yeah, man, I think shouldn't say I want to only work for, I mean, I want to only work for my friends,
You would prefer the environment that you are working for is with people who are more friends and colleagues rather than, hey, I'm your boss.
Yeah, rather than, the sterile client.
Yeah, nah, man.
And,
fuck that.
Yeah, whatever, that relationship. Not to say that I won't do those gigs, because that's,
nature
we all
of the
gotta
beast.
eat. Yeah,
man.
But man, does it make it so much better. And like, you can feel like this past tour with Dispatch. I mean, like, that was a group of, in total, we had roughly 50 people on the road.
Damn.
That's including all of the opening bands and all of the drivers, including like everybody on the tour. It was
Wow.
all the musicians, everybody. It was about 50 people. So we had Dispatch, we had John Butler and his band, we had G Love and Special Sauce, and we had Donovan Frankenreiter. And amongst all of those 50 some odd people, I was kind of shocked from the get-go of like how cool everybody was. Like, all right, there's this many people, there's bound to be a shithead or two that's gonna like fuck my day up and just like be a pain in my ass for the next 2 months. But that was so deeply not the case. And I think that is like, that's typically trickle down from the artist,
Yeah.
and Dispatch, like, I have nothing but amazing things to say about these guys. They're just like the sweetest people. They're down to earth. I wish that they would like maybe pick one fucking instrument and stick to it.
I got the violin, then I'm on the mandolin, now I'm over here on the piano, and now I'm playing drums, and you're just like,
oh my God, dude. It's like they're like running a marathon on stage every day. But
great.
But like the sweetest guys and just like so down to earth and so kind, and they like approach everybody on the crew with like just I mean, it's like crazy to say that this is a rarity, but like just a baseline humanity and respect, and appreciation of just like, hey, we like recognize you're putting in a lot of hard work, and thank you for being here, and thank you for like helping us support this show and all this stuff. And that vibe translated to our production manager and our tour manager, who are also just like individually amazing people. Luke Meek, I love you very much. Aaron, Doc, love you very much. The two of them kind of radiated that same just like general human respect and positivity and like care and compassion down to the rest of us. So that then infiltrated our whole crew, which allowed us to do the same thing to all of the opening bands, and then it just created this whole like lovey-dovey vibe amongst the entire thing. And it's like, not to say that there weren't like frictions and like,
of course there's going to be frustrations and stuff, but
yeah, like snap at each other and just like, whatever.
Yo, families argue.
Yeah, exactly. You like grumble some shit under your breath and walk away. And then, but like, there was also a foundation right at the beginning where both Luke and Aaron were like, hey, if you're like having a tough day, just like be open about it.
Yeah.
Just like tell people what's going on. Or like, even if it's like, you don't want to say exactly what's going on, just say, hey, I'm having a rough day. Like if you see me fucking, and I'm like looking a little bit out of sorts or just like not fully, as like peppy as usual, just like dealing with some shit, and like, let's all cut each other some, like, give each other some grace with that kind of stuff, because we're on tour. It's a grueling day. Everybody should be understanding of those kind of things. And just having that said at the top of a tour, I was just like, damn, I love this environment. Like it's just like so much care for everybody was just like, that was kind of a paramount thing. And not every tour is like that, like they'll care for you in the way of like good hotel rooms or good pay or good this or good that, but it's like that human aspect sometimes is like not
there,
not quite there. Yeah. So yeah, those are the kinds of tours that I hope to find for the rest of my life. I know it won't always be like that, but that's the hope and dream.
That's where it's like, as a house guy, I know the road is unforgiving on you guys, so I try, you taught us very much so. And it's like another, this will kind of segue into our favorite stories and moments and stuff. I will never forget my first semi-show. It was the Decemberists. Shout out, I don't remember their stage manager's name, but that motherfucker was wearing a 3-piece suit for the load in, the show, and the load out. And he killed it.
Remember that.
But
and he remembered, we had like 16 hands.
He remembered everybody's name. Everybody.
Yes, every single one.
Like, I don't even remember half the guys' names, and I see them on all these different calls all the time. But I will never forget it. I'm on the dock. We're pushing all of these cases in, and stuff's coming out, stuff's going in. And, in our building at College Street, we have to dump and run. For people that don't know what that is, the city doesn't allow us to just park the semi truck out front because we don't have the space. It's a busy road. It's a one way, whatever the case. So everything that has to come into the building has to get dumped off in a couple hours, and then we have to shoot the truck away. You're in front of me, facing me, like about to go backwards down the ramp, and you're like, hey, what's the game plan? Logan, hey, and I'm just fucking checked out. Like, I felt myself dissociate because I'm just trying to, like you were saying about Josh earlier, think 2-3 steps ahead. You know, it's all about the out. What can I do to make this flow seamless? I, at that time, had no idea how to do that, but like, you were like, hey, and you like clapped your hands and I snapped out of it. And I will never, you're like, yo, let's go. I know you could do this, but come on, we gotta do this now. So I just remember that feeling. And now there are times where I have shows come in that it's multiple semis and shit doesn't fit. And then I'm like trying to think of every move that I can make, and then learning, you know, the space, your room, you know, how to delegate people, who to put where. And then it's this just flow state of events. And it's that story is one of my favorites to tell people about this world, because it's like, I was still new to stage managing. I had not stage managed a show of that size. And mind you, I definitely, a couple years prior, had like, you know, a little like, oh, I'm getting good at what I do. I'm at Toads. I'm a stage manager. And then the reality check of, bro, you're always going to get better. Always improvement. And it's just like, I have shows come in that it's hard to do, but we make it happen. And you and Natalie and everyone along the way has showed us how to cultivate and curate an environment where everyone feels that they want to do their best, not just for themselves, but for the day, for the actual show. And you've put people in spots that they love what they do. And that's where it's like, some of my favorite stories are just, honestly, that year when you were my production manager at College Street, and the crazy shit that happened in that year. Like, within that 1 year to a year and a half, the amount of wild shit that actually happened. So we ended up on what the fuck was it?
You about to bring up Kodak Black?
Yes, I am. I'm about to bring that up when, you know, I walk in the building through our stage side door, and you, Hagley, and Natalie run past me, and you guys go up to the sound bridge, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs, because you were like, go downstairs. Bro, it's like all of those times. What have, you know, fuck your forklift, we still talk about that day all the time.
That was Miguel.
Yeah, that was Miguel. All those giant fucking set cart lighting things, dude.
First time I ever operated a forklift.
I'll suck all your dicks. What? So for those, I'll paint this image really quick, people. Tim's on the forklift. We're stopping people from walking in front of us because we're pushing big, heavy set carts. And this drunk dude starts yelling at us and starts threatening to fight us, steps on the forklift blades. Tim shuts it off. And this guy, his friend's kind of trying to de-escalate, but then he's starting to feed into him. And we're like, hey, man, you know, you just got to go. And he goes, fuck your forklift. I'll suck all your dicks. And we're just kind of like, what?
Great, me first.
Like, yo, we got, and then Tim's sitting there on the forklift. I see it now. A news article, stagehand beats man to death with wrench.
Oh my God. And the whole thing started because they, like, you know, loadout at College Street is, you load out basically across the sidewalk.
Yep.
So we typically have security out there to, you know, stop the foot traffic from getting run over, especially when we have 3,000-pound set carts rolling through the door.
Fuck them.
And there's like, you know, all of the stagehands are around this cart, and it's coming out on the sidewalk. And two of our guys, I recall, like notice these two coming and step to them, and literally, like, because they're drunk and they're just walking and not paying attention, literally like hands on chests to stop these two dudes.
Yep.
And that's, I think, what started it. Like, who the fuck are you? Don't fucking touch me, blah, blah, blah. And then I just like, the cart stops moving. And then I saw pretty much everybody in all black. It's like the end of the night. It's like fucking 1 a.m. or whatever. And everybody just like turns around at these motherfuckers who are, and
We're tired. We want to go home.
this is not going to be good.
Oh my
And thank God, Brandon, security guard, it's just like, hey guys, and like he de-escalated the whole thing and just like took those 2 dudes and was like, listen, man, you can keep yelling all you want. You just gotta yell over there.
Yup.
Keep on moving. But yeah, he walks across the forklift blades and is just like, fuck your forklift. I will suck all your dicks.
I will never forget that night.
Oh,
What has been some of your favorite stories or moments, whether they've been at, College Street, touring? What have been at least ones that, obviously you can talk about?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, at College Street, I think that that forklift day was one of my favorites. I mean, like I said, never operated a forklift before, and I remember their request for stagehand numbers was pretty high. So like it's already like struggling a little bit to meet that. This was before we were a union house.
Yep.
And being a non-union house, like, just like, hey, you got a cousin, dude?
Do you have anybody with a brain?
Yeah. And none of our guys were forklift certified or any of that. So, and this show was like, these set pieces are way too heavy to go down a ramp. We can't do it that way. We absolutely need a forklift.
Yep.
I said, okay, great. So call up the, local rental company, get a forklift, and am calling around for like a week. And I'm hitting up temp agencies, like anybody who is forklift certified, please. And nobody was available. None of these temp agencies got back to me. I'm calling I'm asking around the stagehands, like, does anybody know anybody who is forklift certified? Blah, blah, blah. So then I called the forklift rental company. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm struggling to find somebody who is actually certified. Can you, like, do you have somebody at your shop that we could like borrow for, a load in and a load out, and like, we'll pay this much, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, man, we can't really do that. That's like, that's not what we do. I don't know, man. You ever driven a car before? And it was like, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I do have a license.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's pretty much like the same thing. I was like, this car drives from the back and has these 2 giant blades on it that pick up thousands of pounds of shit. That's not the same thing, but like, sure.
Yeah, battle
It's
box.
like, I was like, yeah, okay. Can you drop it off like a day or 2 early for me? He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I'll let you practice with it. So guy comes through, drops the forklift off. We kept it in the alleyway, which the Yale people were nice enough to let us keep it there. And the guy who dropped it off was just like, yeah, so here's the key. Just I turned it on. He like gave me a quick little rundown of just like, here's what these levers do. And yeah, just like take it for a spin around here and like, go, like, you got a pallet or something to try and like pick up? And I was like, yeah, I'll find some shit. So he left me alone with this thing. He's like, all right, see you later. He left me alone with the forklift, and I just sat there for like a couple hours and just like drove it around the street, around College Street, like, and then like would do a little U-turn and like, was practicing K-turns and picking shit up. I was like, all right, I guess that's as good as it's gonna get.
Basically the class to get your shit.
Yeah. And then, then we did the gig, and nobody died, and I didn't drop anything. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And the whole, fuck your forklift situation happened, which was just a joy.
Oh my God. Iconic.
Trying to think of some of my favorite stories from the road. Oh, here's one. Here's some brutal ones. Brutal string of events on the last Allen tour that I did with Bear and with Josh. Towards the top of this, actually was the top of this tour. So we started, I believe, in San Francisco, and we were at SIR doing some rehearsals with the band, and the plan was to do whatever, handful of days of rehearsals, and then the bus with the trailer was going to show up at SIR, pack all our shit up, load it into the bus, and go to our first gig. So we're sitting there at SIR after our last day of rehearsal. We have everything packed up. We are like cased and ready to load out. And we're like, where's this bus? What's going on? And Bear's been on the phone with the bus company and with the driver or whatever. And like, there's been some complications. Like it's in the shop. We're just like touching up some final things, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So when's the bus going to show up?
Yeah.
Like, oh, probably not for a minute. Like hours go by and the bus still hasn't shown up. And we're like, what's going on? Oh, they're trying to fix the air conditioner and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so when's the bus going to show up? Oh, likely not until tomorrow morning. Like, okay, well, we need to be like
on the road now.
On the road, like by tomorrow morning. So like doing a loadout in the morning is going to be tight, but we'll do it. We'll make it happen. So next thing you know, we are back at the hotel. All our gear is still just stashed at SIR, and the plan was to load out in the morning. And then the bus is getting closer and closer and closer, and Bear's on the phone with the driver, and he's like, yeah, they couldn't actually fix the air conditioning. And Bear's like, well, that to me and to all of us is not a functional bus that we are paying for. So
Yeah, no.
like, you need to go get that fixed. And he's like, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do. So our driver goes back to the shop or whatever to go and try and get this thing fixed. Then we start pivoting to make plans of renting a U-Haul and a van. So that next morning, get the U-Haul, pull it into SIR, load all the shit into it, everything that we're going to need for the gig, and drive to Sacramento, I believe. We get to Sacramento, and it's like, obviously we had to get up way earlier than planned to go and do a loadout first thing in the morning and then drive it all there. So super sleepy, but we get there, we do the gig. The gig is great. Oh, and by the way, look at this. The bus has now shown up to this gig in the middle of the day. Hallelujah. There's a bus and trailer. The AC is fixed. Amazing. So we finish that gig in Sacramento. We load out into the trailer of the bus. We still have this U-Haul and van that we got to deal with, but our next gig was back in San Francisco. So it's like, okay, we'll go return these vehicles first thing in the morning, and then we'll be on our way. We'll be properly on tour.
Yep.
So that next morning, we had to get up around like 5 a.m. so that Bear and I could I was going to return the U-Haul, he's going to return the van, and then we, and then the bus leaves as well to go to, what's it called? Outside Lands, I think, the big festival in San Francisco.
Mm.
And so it's 5 a.m, all kinds of groggy, get in the U-Haul, which is like effectively empty at this point.
Yeah.
Get on the road. And the bus had pulled out shortly before I did. Okay, great. And then as I'm pulling out, I like kind of realize, oh shit, on the side of the highway there, that's our bus with its hazards on.
Oh my God.
That sucks. Wonder what that's about. Just too sleepy to like put it together.
Just keep on driving.
2 minutes later, Bear's calling me. It's like, hey, I need you to turn around. The bus is broken.
Oh my fucking damn, dude.
So, flip around on the highway, we pull the van and the U-Haul right behind the thing, and we're just sitting there waiting for a while. Our bus driver, amazing driver, super cool dude, but not a mechanic, so he was not like ready to fix the bus in the field. So we're sitting there, he's on the phone, they're trying to get on the phone with like their emergency person or whatever to like figure out how to get this thing running again. The bus had overheated, so it just shut itself off. So we're sitting there for a while. What are we going to do? It's dark. It's 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever. We're sitting on the side of I-80. What are we doing here? Next thing you know, we like somehow gets the bus started up again. It's like, holy shit. All right, here we go. Bus starts going, van and U-Haul right behind it. Get about 2 miles down the road.
Possible.
Shuts off again. Okay. And then sun starts to come up and we're sitting there, we're trying to like, get on the horn with whomever to fucking fix this bus and figure it out. And I think we did that one more time where we got the bus started, got another 2, maybe 5 miles down the road, and it broke down again. And by that time, we were still, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the festival. So we had already been like trying to come up with all of our contingency plans of like, all right, well, we still have this U-Haul, we still have this van, so fuck if we have to go do the thing, but like we're not cross-loading this entire trailer into this U-Haul on the side of I-80. That's ridiculous and unsafe.
Yeah.
So, which we did most of anyway, but
you're like, I basically did 3/4 of it, but I don't know who's counting.
Yeah. So Bear gets on the horn with the festival and the production manager, I assume, and it's like, hey, this is our situation. We are royally boned, but like we need to get there soon. So like, is there any way that we can use local backline for our show? This is what we need. And I like look through it real quick and they're like, oh yeah, we've got you covered. We'll figure it out. We'll make the show happen.
Okay.
So like, okay, great. So what do we need out of the trailer? I need to grab guitars. We need pedal boards. I need to dig through the rack to grab all the band's in-ears. And that's pretty much it. Like cymbals and a snare, whatever. Basic shit. But of course, like all that basic shit is like buried in the fucking trailer. So we're unloading more than half of the fucking trailer on the side of I-80 to get at all these things. We're passing them back and then getting them loaded into the U-Haul. Then get everything loaded back into the trailer, close it up, and we're like, all right, see you later.
Yeah.
And just like drive over to this thing. And mind you, this is like I'm on 30 minutes of sleep from the night previous. 30 minutes. I think at that point, Cheeks had jumped into the U-Haul with me. Anyway, we get to the festival and like we, loaded in and whatever, but it ended up being fine. And the festival was super cool. They didn't even they covered the cost of the backline that we were using. And yeah, super cool time. And it was just like an absolutely wild, sleep deprived, magical festival that we were able to like pull off this gig. But like just cross-loading on the side of the highway as cars are zooming by at 60 miles an hour. It's just like one of the weirdest things I think I've had to do in this touring life.
You're like, I'm not awake enough. Is this real? Am I dreaming?
Completely surreal, dude. I was just like,
you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Did I take peyote or like what's
who slipped something in my drink?
Yeah, but that is one of the most memorable for sure. Wild time. And then like the rest of that tour, that bus just like kind of just kept breaking down. It's just like a cursed fucking bus. It was a tough time.
You got a lemon, my man.
We persevered like motherfuckers through that thing, and what doesn't kill you makes your therapist rich.
Come back from the road looking like a Vietnam vet, like, I am looking at them trailers the same. Them
totally feral. Totally feral.
I'm fucking dead. Now, you were saying very much of tours that you kind of want to go out on. It's with people and friends and basically a collective of people that you consider just your friends and colleagues. What would your dream job / tour be? Or have you kind of not lived it, but you're like, damn, this as of right now is the closest to what that has felt, what would feel like?
Yeah, I'd say Dispatch is pretty close to that, to be honest. Like that size of a production, like 2 semi-trucks and a handful of buses is like, that's the spot where I think I want to be.
I think it's a good sweet spot.
Yeah, like doing bigger things, I would love to do something bigger than that to try it out. And I think stage management of something bigger than that would be really cool, and just
Yeah.
like their eye-opening experience of like, oh, there's 15 trucks on this show. Figure it the fuck out.
You can only fit 6 in your dock. What do I
Yeah.
need first? And then the fucking that's so yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely something that I would like to be involved in, but I do like the size and sort of comfort of a 2 truck size tour, because that, like I said, like we were 50 people, which I think is a lot for a 2 truck tour.
I think so.
But either way, when you get to more bodies than that on the road, it can very easily start to feel like more corporatized, like more like you're a cog in a wheel rather than like a cohesive part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that this position, I would say, if I were to like do it all again, um, being just a stage manager on a gig like that would be ideal, because the double duty of stage manager and monitor engineer is a lot. But in terms of like dream tour, like who would I want to be out with?
Yeah.
Mm.
Blake said Taylor Swift front of house.
I mean, from a financial standpoint,
Yeah, right.
absolutely.
I was like, she took care of her
Absolutely.
drivers, dog. She took care of
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, and like I said the same thing like a year or two ago. Like, absolutely, I want that gig. Are you kidding me?
Right?
Like, that was
What
amazing. Um, but I think from a musical standpoint, I would love to do monitors for Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Ooh, hell yeah.
That would be a very satisfying dream gig. Um, and rest his soul, like never, no, obviously never going to happen, but like doing monitors for Prince, as much of a nightmare as that would likely be,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be cool.
That would
Like
be
just to have touched the project of Prince would be special.
yeah, dude. I'm like trying to think. That would probably be one of the more baller ones I could think of. Cause like that
Yeah,
man has just done.
so much for music, both of those organizations.
What advice? This is the fun question. What advice, tips, or tricks would you have for newcomers, and advice for old heads who are kind of stuck in their ways?
For the newcomers, I would say um, approach everything with some level of curiosity. Um, just try to absorb as much knowledge as you can, whether it be directly related to the department that you're trying to be a part of or not. Just try to soak it all up so you can get that bigger picture of like, even if you only want to do audio for the rest of your life, or you only want to do lighting, or you only want to be a rigger or whatever, you can at least like have a better understanding of where your gig fits into the broader picture, which just makes you a sharper tool, which makes you a more hireable person. On top of that, like, obviously it's like you got to have chops, you got to be good at what you do in order to get hired, you got to be like on point and showing up on time, and all of these like things that are like required for the job. But equally as important, if not potentially more important, is like, be cool. Just like, if you're not if you're not someone that's a good hang that people like want to be around, you're not going to get hired very much, like there's plenty of people who are good enough at the gig that if they're cooler and easier to be around and like a better attitude, they're probably going to get the hire, even if you're like technically more competent at the gig. Yeah, like vibe is very much a part of, everything here, because it's like, you're working in the arts. So having that culture and being a part of that culture that is being cultivated in a day, on a show day, is like kind of critical to the whole thing. It's critical to the band having a good experience. It's critical to the crew having a good experience, which is critical to the band having a good experience, which is critical to the audience having a good experience, which is critical to the band having a good experience. And then, yeah,
The giant trickle down, man. You hear that, newcomers? Don't be a cocky shithead.
Don't be a dick.
Like this, seriously.
Like
rule one is have fun. Well, the way I look at it is rule one, do our job safe and efficient. Rule two, have some fucking fun, dude.
Straight up.
So many people would want to do this. Like, the fuck?
100%. Yeah. And advice to old heads. I think the advice to old heads would be, don't be the stereotype of like the fucking jaded old entertainment industry person.
Yep.
Like, those days are gone, and if you want to retire like right now, go ahead and do that, because that's like, unless you're already really secure in a gig, that's not going to get you more gigs, like, and it's also just like, it's so easy to be cool. It's so easy to be kind. It's so easy to be welcoming to the new people who are probably going to do your job 100 times better than you in the next couple years. Like already, like my buddy Noah Thomas, who we hired on the Dispatch tour, like midway through, because doing the stage management and monitors and all of this stuff was just like proving to be unsustainable, and kind of both positions were suffering, like there'd be a point where it'd be in the like middle of the day or whatever, and most of our load in is done. It's like, okay, let me go try and build my monitor world now. And like, then my head's down and I'm doing all of this stuff and getting myself set up and scanning RF frequencies and getting all of that coordinated. And then I look up and it's like, there's fucking 8 things that just happened that I didn't want to happen, that are like, I've lost control of the day. I've lost, like the rhythm is now fucked.
Threw off my groove.
Yeah. And if I focus on the rhythm and the groove too much, then it's like, oh, I haven't scanned any of my fucking frequencies. Now the whole monitor aspect of the gig is going to suffer.
Yep.
So I went to Luke and Aaron, our production manager and tour manager. Like, we were talking about ways to try and make that better. And one of the ways that we came up with was like, let's hire a young gun that's like hungry and can just like build monitor world and just be a general like Swiss Army knife. So he kind of became like monitor tech and assistant stage manager in a lot of ways. And when we hired a young gun, I'm like expecting, whatever, 20-year-old kid that's like got some audio experience that I can teach how to use wireless workbench and like figure it out. And had some conversations with him on the first day that he came in. His flight came in like midway through a festival day.
Oh,
so we had already done the load in and the build, everything in the morning. And then he came in, answered a couple questions about the gig and some general expectations and whatever. And then come loadout, he's like, so what do you want me to do for loadout? I was like, all right, hang out with me in here. Like, here's all of my pieces. And I just like blurted directions at him. I was like, all of this goes in there and this packs down like that and whatever. And he just like started packing up all the shit. And he packed it up beautifully. And the next day, the next gig, I walk in and he's already got it like set up. Like he walks in, I turn my back and do some stage management shit, and I walk over. He's got the desk flipped, he's got everything plugged in appropriately, and he's already working on doing RF coordination for me. And it's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, man.
What is going on here? Like this dude knows what's up, but is still like a young gun in the business. And I'm like, this dude is going to be like, and just smart as a whip and like knows his shit really well, probably better than I do. And I'm like, this dude's going to be like outmixing the shit out of everybody in the next like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, man.
And I'm going to his ass for gigs. But yeah, you know, I think recognizing, and back to the advice for old heads is like recognizing the young talent when you see it and foster it as much as you can. Dude. And pass the torch in whatever way possible.
That's like Marty, my mentor at Toads. He saw in me, he saw in Thor, Lorenzo, all of us that like we were not just good at it, we were a little hungry for it. You know, we all kind of bob and weave in the industry, and I understand where the old heads come from of like, we're stuck in our ways, but it's like, dude, you don't need to be. You know, you see the direction that the industry has taken over the last, 5 to 10 years, and it's not that hardcore. A lot of the old heads after COVID left, and the people that have filled those roles have come in, and we're a much more chill, like, listen, man, we're all here on the same team. You do audio, I do lighting, like, I'm gonna help, and if I see someone that's, capable, it's not like, oh, I have to protect my spot from them. It's like, no, let me build them up so that if I need to step away or God forbid something happens, that role will still be, held by someone that is good at it, appreciates it, and it's not just being given to someone that, doesn't deserve the role. Because I feel like a lot of these old heads, they play favoritism, and they are like, well, so-and-so has been around here for 10 years, but like they don't give a shit,
Yeah, right. So-and-so sucks.
Exactly. I mean this in the nicest of sense, but like there are people who are like, well, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. And I'm like, yeah, then why are you still on just the truck? Honestly, that's like the fun part, I think. I'll never forget the first time I sent you an email when you were just coming as an audio guy. And I was like, all right, guys, here's the advanced sheet for today. Here's load in, here's load out, here's who everybody is. And it's like, I have watched you, I've watched Natalie, I've watched Bear, all of these people. And I've always tried to ask for, like, hey, tips, tricks, and advice. Because, man, like, we all help each other grow.
100%.
And it's something that I feel a lot of people can learn from the conversations that, we have on here and everything like that. It's, folks, just be kind, be good, want to learn, show up and have initiative. And man, it will take you so far in world. It doesn't even have to be this industry.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, man. And one more thing that I'll say, as just like a general piece of advice, I think for everybody, is like, so much of this business is contract based, or it's like you're a part-time employee or whatever. It's a pretty rare thing to find a gig with whatever, like benefits and retirement and like job security, because it's like, oh, that tour lasted for a couple of months, or like, this season at this venue is only, this little window. I would say that one of the biggest things, probably the only thing that's like actual job security is like forging genuine relationships and friendships with all the people that you work with. Not to like, say that you should be like trying to take advantage of your friends or whatever, but just like maintain those relationships in a genuine way, because like if you love what you do and that person alongside you loves what they do, and you can do the things that you love to do together, and like you're all going to get more work, you're all going to get more give.
If I eat, you eat, man. It's like we've had individuals who, you know, we're not saying names, people who were once in our midst, in our crews, who are no longer, because they didn't have that that like-minded attitude. They were always kind of, I'm a little bit better than so-and-so. I have this ego. Well, I also do, you know, things here. And they would, you know, that would reflect in their attitude and in their work ethic and other things like that. And, you know, it's not saying that they don't have skill. They do have skills. But sometimes, like you were saying, it's not about the skills. It's about the personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
It goes such a long way. But yeah, man, like that's probably the best piece of advice I think people can get is just don't be an asshole. Just
be cool.
Yeah, be cool, baby. Be cool. Well, Tim, brother, thank you so much for coming on and just shooting the shit and everything like that, man.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Dude, of course. You know, my plan is to, you know, try and have everyone come back in like a year or so and, you know, talk about anything that's changed. It will be a little more just like a catch-up kind of sesh.
Yeah, I would love that.
Hell yeah, my man. Guys, everyone listening, wherever you be listening, thank you so much for coming through and hanging out, enjoying what we do here on It's Call Time. Love y'all. And I will see you guys on the next one. Tim, you got anything you want to say before we go, baby?
No, don't be a dick.
Love it. All right, folks. I will see you on the next one. Later.
What?